Today, the topic I wanted to discuss was the Bell Let's Talk campaign that happened yesterday. As you know, Bell is raising awareness for mental health causes in order to raise money for people who've had mental health issues, which is obviously a great thing. But with that being said, as somebody who's dealt with anxiety and PTSD, I feel that there's actually a lot missing from the campaign. And personally, as somebody who supposedly would be represented by this cause, I don't feel represented by it whatsoever. I've spoken online on different Facebook groups with people who want to discuss their mental health, and a lot of them are in agreement that the Let's Talk campaign does not represent any of them. If you look at the media, the two main subjects, first of all, are discussed are depression and anxiety. And second of all, it's only represented by celebrities. It's only represented by people who've had access to certain resources. And at the same time, this whole hashtag Let's Talk actually just feels, to be honest, it feels kind of condescending. It feels insensitive. It feels cold. It's like telling people that if you just talk about it, it won't be an issue anymore. And as somebody who's had panic attacks in the past, I can tell you straight up that there are certain days where I do not want to talk about it. Okay, there are certain days where I just want to go on with my life and pretend everything's okay even when it's not. And telling people that, oh, things are going to get better for you as long as you talk about it is not helping anybody. In fact, it's just invalidating them and making them want to hold back even more. It's one of the reasons why it's such an issue for us to want to talk about these things is because the times that we have tried talking, we get told that we're too sensitive, that to just get over it, to move on, stop being a fucking crybaby, grow some balls already, man up, stop being so sensitive, it happened a long time ago, it shouldn't bother you. As somebody like myself who's worked on all kinds of projects in her field, there are certain days where I don't feel like dealing with anything. There are certain days where I do just want to stay home and take a break. And you know what? That's okay too. There is absolutely nothing wrong with taking time for yourself. For the most part, a lot of the people online I see posting this hashtag and adding that cute blue banner around their profile picture on Facebook and writing their status that like and share it to know that people are not alone. It's mostly coming from people who do not have a history of mental health issues. Okay, this whole day is represented by people who are unable to relate to the subject, and there's no platform right now being given to people who deal with, for example, with schizophrenia, with bipolar disorder, dissociative identity disorder, or any of the other mental illnesses. It only highlights the two major ones that the majority of people either have dealt with in the past or know somebody who has. And yet everyone else is just left in the dark. And I know that's going to offend a lot of people, but for the ones who know me, you know that I like to keep things real. And this is just how I see things. So if the whole Let's Talk campaign actually wants to be successful, you need to learn how to be more inclusive. And you need to learn how to accept also the fact that Let's Talk is not going to work for everybody. And before we start talking, we also have to learn how to listen. You know, like I'm somebody who's dealt with specifically complex PTSD. And the difference is that with regular PTSD, usually the prime example would be we see a soldier in the military, they come home, they have flashbacks and nightmares related to what they survived in the war. And there's various triggers that take them back to that moment. And basically, regular post-traumatic stress disorder is usually triggered by a one-time traumatic event, whereas complex PTSD is when somebody has dealt with long-term trauma, like emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. If you were somebody who grew up getting beaten, getting sexually abused by a relative, what you would deal with primarily would be complex PTSD, which is something that's lesser spoken of. You know, we need to stop and think that if somebody reaches out to you and they say they're going through something, you need to take that seriously. If we want people to come forward, we need to show them that we're actually going to be there, not just for one day. And stop telling people just to talk about it already, because that's not gonna work. Right? If somebody you know is going through something, maybe they don't want to talk. Maybe they just want you to sit next to them and watch Netflix together.